Okay, so you guys didn't know what it was yesterday. Now you're these high school girls that just got inspired and you just got an idea of what you want to do with your buddy for her birthday. You chose disc golf. Win, win, win. And the women's side is growing.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Approachable, powered by Jomez Pro. I'm Jo Henderson.
And I'm Paige Pierce, and today, Jo, we have a unique show, one that we haven't done before because I have our guest actually in my house. One of my good friends, Zoe Andike, she is the founder and the director of You Play Disc Golf, which is a nonprofit that basically teaches kids and also teaches teachers how to teach kids, and we're getting disc golf inside of schools. So she's in town visiting, and I thought what a perfect guest to have on the show and teach us how we can make disc golf even more approachable to our younger generation. So I think that this is one of the most important things in disc golf, the most important ways to grow the sport. And I know, Jo, as you yourself are a teacher, like I'm sure that you want to teach disc golf every chance you can get.
I am so excited to talk to Zoe about this. This is something that's super dear to my heart, something that I've always loved is working with children. And yeah, I love being able to be in a school setting, and just to hear how we can make disc golf approachable to these kids is incredible.
Totally. And I don't think I've even told you this yet, Jo, but my long-term goal inside of the sport of disc golf, when I can't play anymore, when I'm not touring anymore, I want to start and this is my brainchild, so nobody steal my idea, but I want to start like a kids camp, like a summer camp type thing, but have and teach kids disc golf, teach kids all kinds of other life skills, but also obviously teach them disc golf. And working with Zoe has helped me kind of learn their attention spans, what to say, what not to say, how to make it concise, all of these things. So let's get right into it. Let's get Zoe on here. I'll bring her in, and we can have her kind of tell you guys a little bit more of the specifics on what goes on to make You Play such a successful venture. But I want to remind you guys, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you want to ask us more questions about Zoe's organization, please either leave a comment below if you're watching, or if you're listening, make sure to send us an email to approachable@jomezpro.com. We are looking forward to reading all of these and kind of learning what you guys want to hear on a potential season 2. So let's just get right into it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Approachable. I'm here with Zoe Andike, and we have so much we have to chat about. So let's get into it. Zoe,
good.
We just want to say hello and welcome. And also we just want to know, why are you here? Why are you on this podcast? And we want to know more about what you have on your shirt there. You Play, if you are not watching from YouTube.
Right. All right. Well, first of all, I just have to say thank you, Jo and Paige, for having me on the show. It's extremely important to my heart, first of all, but then to the entire organization, You Play's heart, that you guys would want to help us share and spread our mission. And so to get right into it, currently today, I am the director of Universal Play Disc Golf. We call it You Play for short. It's much easier to roll off the tongue that way. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission statement is to enhance the health and well-being of individuals everywhere through the provision of disc golf education. I think that the most highlighted and important core values or our goals is that we're committed to teaching people of all ages, all races, all genders, how to play disc golf. We want to introduce them. We want them to feel welcome. And we really want to actually make sure that they have a simplistic way to absorb how to play. So from the very basics, all the way to advanced material, we're committed to making sure people have a good way to get into disc golf and are successful getting into disc golf. We're also committed to opportunities for everybody. We're always looking for diverse and areas that are underserved to put disc golf. But that's not our only focus. We're not going to take away from some of the mainstream areas, but we certainly are committed to putting a lot of our resources and time into those groups that just actually don't get a lot of opportunities. And really just to kind of put a nice little bow on the package of what is UPlay, we're a nonprofit dedicated specifically to using disc golf as a way for the world to be a happier and a healthier place. We want everyone to have the option, because I know what the option did for me in my life.
Totally. And Joe and I have talked about this plenty of times on this podcast, is that disc golf is such a healing sport, right? It gets you outside, it gets you active, it gets these kids and even us adults, off of our phone and off of social media and out on at recess time,
Right.
And so
exactly,
I think, one of my favorite things about UPlay is that you guys aren't just teaching the kids, you are teaching the teachers.
Exactly.
So you would love to go into every single school, but it's not physically possible. So now you are in the process currently of developing a curriculum where you can then get that to teachers and then they can learn how to teach disc golf, right?
Absolutely. We're done with writing our basic curriculum, and we're a good 3/4 of the way through our advanced. So we're gonna take the curriculum itself and go to market with it here in the first quarter of this year. All the schools that we've already taught at. So some of our listeners out there might have been in tune with the Disc Golf Network or learned a little bit about our Community Connections program, and all those schools that we've been at, they're the first ones that will receive it for free.
Awesome.
The curriculum is super affordable. Yeah, because even though I'm working with those teachers, and keeping in touch with how the progress is, they've got to have the book. I come from a background of being a PE teacher, so that probably is one of the questions down the line, but I'll just skip right to it. My background pre-disc golf life is I've been a professional coach and teacher throughout my entire life, really. I started coaching middle school volleyball team in high school. That was like the early days. And then I have 10 years of professional swim coaching. I was coaching my old varsity team, club teams throughout the state of Oregon. And it was not until I turned 21 years old that I actually found disc golf. So I was well into college and into the idea of becoming a teacher. I got my first career job as a PE teacher for a school called the Academy at Sisters. And it's a all-girls high school age boarding school for at-risk youth. I was able to, I had free curriculum, pass or fail, which is like any teacher's dream come true, honestly.
Seriously.
And so I got to take all kinds of trainings I never played soccer, got to learn how to teach soccer at a very, very basic level, and so you can see how that progression goes. Brought in all of my swimming and my volleyball background, track. But then I got to start teaching disc golf at that school. And that was when I was still the weekend warrior playing advanced tournaments in Southern Washington and all over Oregon. And it didn't take too long, I was winning some small divisions, like disc golf. There wasn't a lot of women playing when I started.
Yeah, back then there wasn't many.
Totally,
just like many of us feel. Even some people, I still hear it nowadays where I'm like, how do we get more women playing? And I'm like, we're always trying to crack the code.
Teach them, and that's what you're doing, totally. And
Teach them, and that's exactly it.
You have a background, you're currently teaching right now as well.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the opportunity to bring disc golf into your schools?
Definitely, actually. Last year, I had the opportunity in Edmonton, Alberta. I was working at a school, and I actually had a student that I used to use disc golf as kind of like a physical, almost like a sports therapy, I guess, is kind of what I used it with. But I would just take him outside. If he had a several diagnosis, but ADHD being one of them, and that for him, he connected so well to sports and any kind of sports. And I felt he just grabbed right onto disc golf, and he was just putting in the basket. We would go back and forth between the classroom and and the basket, and he was loving it. Yeah.
That is so cool. One of
so
my
fun.
things that I notice when I'm going to, so you touched on this, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves yet, but the community connection, you touched on that. And basically that is the Disc Golf Tour and UPlay have partnered together. We'll talk about that a little more later, but I've been involved in some of these, and I've got to see just that, Joe, like these kids connecting through the disc. And you know, some kids might not find it interesting, but then other kids are like absolutely hooked right away. And my question, Zoe, is when, you know, this gets asked to me all the time. I've been involved with lots of juniors tournaments, junior world championships, all that, and the parents ask me questions like, okay, how do I get my kid more interested? How do I get my kid more involved? And I know your job is to teach, but knowing how fun and friendly and almost childlike you are,
right,
I've seen you spread that joy. So do you have any tips for those parents at home watching and their kids like not quite picking it up yet? What are your tips for those parents at home?
That is such a good question. I wish more people would ask me that, Paige. Okay, here's the quick tips to that. So disc golf is a way for a child to feel successful. So put them in a successful situation. You'll notice from some of our programs, we're always starting with putting. We're starting with the short game. Okay. And there's
so they feel
skills,
good about getting close to the basket and whatnot.
Close to the basket, and we're starting with a skill progression that's the slower speed. And anytime you add speed to anything, no matter what the subject matter is, we get a little more out of control and erratic. So starting with putting is one of my number one tips, and starting with a higher success rate, closer to the basket. Kids just want to make it. And they really, really feel success. And then I'd say the secondary piece for parents or coaches that want to bring more people into it is celebrating. So you'll notice in my programs, it's actually mandatory high five, and kids don't always do it, and it's not like they're losing points in class if they don't, but it's mandatory high fives for a make, and encourage each other if you get close to the basket. And we always make sure to let the kids know it's not just about making it. If you're close, you're doing a good job. So we have to highlight what's good, and we have to highlight what success means. And I think something that I've been blessed with in my life that I'm extremely thankful for is a really high amount of energy.
Yeah.
I'm very high energy, and I bounce a lot, kind of like Tigger or a jumping bean or something. I don't know what to say, but when a kid sees an adult get rowdy or like excited, that's getting them really fired up. And maybe that's not your personality style, but I think everybody knows how to jump with 2 feet up and down. And if a kid makes a basket, you can do it.
We all have that. It's just some of us put this wall up when other people are watching.
Right.
You know?
Oh,
exactly.
And then you get alone and you're like dancing in the mirror and you're doing whatever. But, if you can show that around kids and let them know that, hey, I'm still a kid because of disc golf. Disc golf makes me childlike. It gets me excited. It gives me that passion. I think that is totally a key that I've seen just as a fly on the wall watching. Zoe's literally jumping up and down, high-fiving. So, we'll get to all the plugs later, but seriously, you guys, check out some of the UPlay videos on your YouTube channel and stuff. We'll plug all the spots you guys can watch later and put them in the description below if you're watching. If you're listening, we'll add those at the end. So stay with us till the end.
Yes.
So let's get right into the community connections then. So where did that partnership come about? Did the Disc Golf Pro Tour approach you? Was it something you kind of had to pitch? And then what is that? What does that look like in 2022? And this is a lot of parts of a question.
Yeah.
So what did it look like in years previous? Is it growing in 2022? And how did that partnership happen?
Awesome. Thanks for asking. So the Disc Golf Pro Tour's inaugural year, the kickoff, was in 2016. And myself, my partner Dustin Keegan, a man named Shasta Chris, and Paul Ullman were the first 4 employees of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Then there was a mastermind, Nate Heinold, and Miles from Paragon, Miles Parkhill. There were all...
And that was before Jeff Spring was even involved.
This was
Wow.
way before Jeff Spring's name was even in my Rolodex. Actually, I barely knew him. So it was Steve Dodge and 7 of us, and the 4 pros that I just named that were literally touring in the RV, pulling the big, huge Disc Golf Pro Tour trailer. And where all of this really birthed was, it was years ago when I started touring. I saw the biggest lack in disc golf being education. Like, a lot of people wanted to start a t-shirt company, another disc company, baskets. I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. We need coaches. We need teachers to know how to teach this. So that was me wanting to get back to my professional roots. Then you fast forward to 2016 and us being on the tour. Well, we used to set up these games. Do you remember the games?
Totally, yeah.
It was called the Flying Festival of Discs. And it was,
Yes.
I talked Steve Dodge into letting us, the pros, cook dinner, like a really nice meal for pro coaches. And then we would play games with people that would come to the Flying Festival of Discs. That's a whole mouthful to say. But all I really wanted to evolve out of that was bringing kids, and I wanted the Disc Golf Pro Tour to provide me a stage to teach kids clinics. Well, Steve, as you guys might know, much like myself, is usually going about 1 million miles a minute and didn't quite have the time to dedicate to it. But he's like, hey, go run with that, for this. And Steve believed in me. He just couldn't, he was developing something bigger than all of us, the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Fast forward to 2018 and Jeff Spring's getting way more involved. 2019, I think it was, he takes over and the tour is sold and changes over hands of ownership. And it was the end of 2019 with my initial board president, a wonderful man. I call him one of my wizards. He's on my leadership team and is one of my main strategic advisors, Marshall Peter, who helped me start the nonprofit. Him and I and Dustin Keegan presented to Todd Rainwater first, the owner of the tour, and then he's like, yeah, this sounds great, let's do it, go to Jeff. Presented again to Jeff, and in 2020, which I was able to have Paige and 9 other pros besides Paige and besides Dustin and I, so really there was a total of 12 of us in a school that we chose at the Arizona Memorial, the kickoff stop. And I was kicking off multiple programs at the same time. I was kicking off teaching for the tour, and I want to invite the kids, Jeff, like, can they come? Yeah, of course, let's have kids come to the event. So we chose a school the closest in vicinity, and actually a school with the demographic of lower income, lower socioeconomic backgrounds, and a much higher percentage of like the demographic going to the school. So a lot of different races represented in that school, and we had a few kids come. It was decently successful.
Oh, they were stoked.
Yeah.
I remember they found out, Simon Lizotte was one of the pros there, and Simon's YouTube channel is world famous, as we've come to find out through even the kids at the middle school.
So
they were
fun.
like, what? You got 100,000 subscribers? Put me on. And they were just like posing. They were like, Simon's like, all right, you got to throw a good shot. And, it was a good,
good motivator
for them. Yeah.
It was.
I love
the
that.
kids were so stoked. And Simon made our first beautiful video production for Uplay, because those of you that know me and those of you that have been watching that don't know me, one thing that Uplay has lacked the entire time has been a way to display what we're doing. I'm way too busy focused on what I'm doing, and I'm very action based. So there's no way I really had much time to think about the media portion of it. So huge shout out to Simon for that beautiful video he produced. And then much later, huge shout out to Tanner LaBelle and the Disc Golf Network for giving us a chance. But I have to pause real quick on where I was at there. 2020 Arizona Memorial, knowing that the next stop was Waco, and everybody remembers, hopefully, boom, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
All the wind out of my sails right there, just simply because I couldn't get into a school. Kids weren't even going to school.
Yeah, everything was online.
I felt lost. Yep. Yeah, I was lost.
Right when you got your wheels going.
Yeah, just when we got on the ground running.
Yeah.
And I spent the whole next year and a half. I stayed off the tour actually the rest of that entire year. Dustin went out with you guys once you left Oregon. And I was really in what I call like the creation station, my office. I was planted in one space to just be able to work on my craft. And that's when Val Jenkins, who sits on my board of directors and has since the very beginning, she used to be the secretary, and then we moved her out of that position so she could have some higher focus points. And Val and Dustin and I sat down, and the silver lining of the pandemic is when the world was on pause, it created a time slot that I may have never had to sit and write. I'm not much of a writer. I'm much more of a freestyler. And Val had seen me in action, kind of the same way that Paige has. And Val was like, all right, we're going to start this whole new thing where people meet on videos, and you're just going to teach me on the screen. I'm going to write what you say, and Dustin's going to interrupt you if you say something that he doesn't remember you saying.
That's amazing.
And so we started writing. Yeah. And that was in 2020, you guys. So it's almost been 2 years of actually pulling all of the little scribble notes, like every single class I ever taught. Because I started teaching in schools in 2014. I'd take little notes and I'd write my own experience reports. But it was really taking all that and extracting it and compiling it in the most digestible, most expert basic form. And that's what's coming to market here pretty soon for the world.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine that has to be... So to shorten that, the best thing that come out of the pandemic is now your curriculum is written. You're almost done with it. I want to touch on something you just said. Like, it has to be expert, but it also has to be basic. And like those two things in the same sentence is so tricky because you have to make sure that they're understanding what you're saying. So that's where the basic part comes in. You have to make sure the words are, digestible. Digestible. They can get them and they can translate them. And when they see the word, they can also be like, oh, that's what that looks like. But also enough, of our lingo to where they kind of learn, okay, Heiser and Heiser. And so I would imagine that has to be super hard. So,
oh yeah.
Wow. Props to you. Props to you.
Oh yeah.
But I love what you do. So like in the community connections, what do we have typically? 30 to 50 minutes per class? Something like that?
And I always hope and pray we have 50. Sometimes, class periods are only a half an hour.
And so you have to, as a teacher, as someone in the school, you have to think about, okay, I have this many minutes. You divide it by this. Okay, putting 10 minutes, upshots this, and then you have to make sure it flows right. So what is your, and I know as the UPlay head, you have like a 15-minute or 15-second elevator speech, a 60-second elevator speech. Like what have you learned is the most concise? Like, give us a 60-second. You're going to teach someone. Someone right here is listening or watching.
Yep.
You have 60 seconds to teach them 3 things. Go.
Well, let me just actually, before I say go, before we hit the go button, I'm actually just going to say right now what I would say in front of a class full of kindergartners or college students. Ready?
Okay. Do it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zoe Andike. I'm going to be your coach today. You can call me Coach or Coach Zoe. Raise your hand if you know how to, or if you've ever heard of disc golf. Then I take a quick inventory of how many hands are up. Hands down. All right, raise your hand if you know what golf is. Instantly, we've now gotten a very, very fast production of the kids' brains going like, oh yeah, I know what that whole golf sport is. Now I'm here to empower you that disc golf, same concept as golf, from a starting point to a target, and I'm pointing at the baskets at that point. Least amount of throws to get in wins. That's the whole idea of the game. And if you guys just sit and think about what is golf, how many of you know what disc golf is, here's the definition and how simplified that is. We could have just taught a whole lecture in a 1-hour period on just that much, but I don't have time for that. And I need them to get into the mindset of what the goal is and then what we're actually going to be doing with our bodies. We're going to throw something into that basket, and the whole goal is the least amount of times, and I got it. And that took me a very long time to nail. Like, it seems so simple when I just said it,
totally.
and when I say it to the kids, but you can see the wheels start turning. And as soon as they understand they're going to throw something, the excitement level starts rising.
Yeah.
Because every kid wants
They've
to
just
throw
been sitting
something.
down. They've just been sitting in all these classes, and now you're like, here's a piece of plastic, throw it over there.
Absolutely.
And they get so stoked. And, you know, it's also, you have those certain kids that are the troublemakers, you know?
Yep.
And they want to do whatever you say not to do.
Exactly.
You know, and so how do you rile those kids in? Because I've seen it. I've actually kind of had to get on to one kid at the last community connection.
It's true. So when you say we're not going to throw unless it's our turn, you know, and we usually create these lines. We have cones that you stand behind. You get to step in front of them, and then it's your turn. Well, we have had some of those tougher kids or more challenging kids want to throw when it's not their turn. And I always say, use the disc as a fidget tool. I challenge you to try to spin it as many times as possible without throwing it in the air. There's still going to be that kid that wants to throw it in the air. And you really just have to create side challenges with them. I've had coaches, actually like yourself. I remember Nate even, Perkins one time was like, all right, I see this kid. I see what's going on. I need to stand next to him in line. And I need to challenge him when it's his turn. But I'm going to stand here and talk to him about how fast can you spin it, or challenge the fidget skill. Give him this extra attention until it's their turn.
Yeah.
And it works, you know. I mean, it does work. And we're throwing things, you guys. We're throwing sharp-edged plastic if it's a driver, or blunt edge if it's a putter. But if a kid's going to be throwing when it's not their turn, let's just face it, that's not safe. And we absolutely, as educators or as coaches, parents at home, we can't allow that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a parent take a group of their kids and friends out, and they'll let Susie or Tommy or Billy throw when it's not their turn, and they just kind of turn a blind eye to it. And that is absolutely not acceptable and not recommended, because we never want to teach that bad etiquette is acceptable. But so without going down a wormhole up there, it's about creating an extra challenge. And if I had a disc in my hand, I would say spin catch. Yeah, so
Here you go, Zoe.
Here we go. I got a nice passion here, and for the camera to see, it's really how many times. That was one full rotation. That was 1.5. Can you get 3? Because I doubt anyone that's the best in the world could get 3 whole rotations, and you got to make it a challenge. I've never done that, and I'm a putting world champion. She's never done that, and she's a 5-time world champion. So once you start comparing yourself to them, and providing the challenge, that can redirect the want to be.
They have something to tackle.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to backtrack a little bit, though, because on our last episode, Joe and I were speaking with Simon and UC and their role with Disc Golf Park. And both of them, actually, their common theme was that the most important thing in designing courses and putting courses in is safety. So how does that translate into UPlay? And do you guys put in your own courses? Like when you go teach at these schools, but do you design courses on the property? And you know, that's obviously got to be something that you guys are very concerned with, being at a school, is safety as well.
Yes. So we have a good number. I'd say close to 50% of the schools, if not more, that we've ever been in, their teachers like, I gotta have a course. I don't want to have just these traveler or pop-up baskets in the gym. I want a course that's permanent in my school. So instantly when that happens, I feel very proud. Not only that I have one of the best course designers in the world, Dustin, that's operations manager of UPlay, right by my side, but Dustin has me, an educator that has been teaching for the majority of my life. And of course, he's got the design eye for championship level, but he's also been with me since 2014 in school, so he knows the capability of distances and age groups. You know, these are things that we're creating a database for people and for educators to have and to know, and what's most effective distance-wise for drives and this and that. But what's really, really important about the educator in the course design is, how much time do I have? Where are the doors that exit out to the course? And then I would never go much bigger. It'd be really cool if a school had room for an 18-hole course, but in most case scenarios, they really only have room for 3, 6, or 9 holes.
Plus the time that they have the class.
And
Definitely.
you'll never get through a 9-hole course unless you have a teeny tiny class. You're not going to get through a 9-hole course. So you want it to break down to a loop of 3 or 4 holes and a loop of 3 or 4 holes, or 3, 3, and 3, that you can play for day 1, day 2, day 3.
Right.
And then, you know, if there was to become an after-school program or an after-school club, and in some places this is already happening where it evolves and there's multiple clubs, on the weekend, you know, parent volunteers or parent coaches are bringing kids together for these little tournaments to give them a chance. Also, you have to think about parents' ability level.
Yeah.
So for in the instance of Vermont at the Green Mountain Championships, they actually have a couple of different course designs that they've involved like math and science classes to come in and the kids to do a lot of the designing. It's really cute how
that's cool.
you can turn this into other subject material to teach and to grade upon. But they challenge the parents to come in and use the course with their students after school. You can rent discs from the library, but you have to think, man, a lot of parents are probably intimidated to even give this a try. However, we have reports already specifically from this school that once the parents like took their kids for the first couple times, they were like, well, why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
And a shorter distance, you know, 150 to even up to 250 foot holes really are friendly, conducive, and create success for even the parents, you know, their first few times. So when you're thinking about school course development, you have to think about class periods. Here's a huge one that everyone always overlooks. Where's the danger? Where's the maintenance shed? Where are the cars, the staff and facility, and even students parking in for high school?
Yeah, totally.
And where can the most errant shot go? So errant shot is misfire, misthrow. Yeah. Could that go in the street? Could it go over the fence of the neighbors? Could it go where the dog might bite the kid's hand off? Where do we have to stay away from? And that is such an important piece of why Dustin and I mean, when writing how to design a school course, it's like what makes you the most successful and what keeps you safe. What can you do during a school class period?
Mm-hmm. Cool. So in UPlay's let's say offerings, you can teach curriculum, you can teach the teachers, you can come into the schools, but you can also do course design at the schools. Yes. That's awesome. Yes. Very cool.
And that's something Dustin's actually also working on, getting a small army of people trained up. You know, we're going to get to this in a minute probably, but this is the year where UPlay certifies other educators and certifies instructors to take our information and run with it. And Dustin gets to start writing how you design a school course. And, you know, like, in us creating our certification for the actual teacher's process, it gives him all of this creative flow and like room to create exactly what it takes to have a successful school course.
Awesome.
Love it.
Love that.
Awesome.
So how can local communities access the supports of UPlay? Like, how can someone get you into their school and get you teaching and get you developing courses and everything like that?
Good question. Okay, so first of all, UPlay's website is uplaydiscgolf.org, and it's a constantly evolving website. I mean, right now it's literally can be daily or weekly because we're developing so fast. UPlay's taken off, but on our website there is a form, and it is for how UPlay can come to my school. So specifically for 2022, we know that we've signed our partnership agreement with the Pro Tour. We're devoting our resources and our staff to being at the 15 Elite Series. So, and I'll get to the people outside of the tour. So awesome. The very first version is, are you on the Elite Tour? If so, you know, you fill in all of the blank spaces, name, address, and then a little bit about the dynamics of your school itself. Because we're trying to balance between the age levels that we're going to, and then also we want to be in some Title I schools, and we want to be in some well-resourced schools, because we are creating this database and learning so much right now. So anyways, we get to filter through these applications for the Community Connect. And by the way, right now I only have 4 schools with the blanks filled for the Community Connect this year. If you're out there listening and you know that you're close to one of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series, get on there. We're looking to filter through those applications and put school names next to, we still have, 11 more to fill. But if you are not along the tour, you still need to fill out that form. UPlay has a recycled disc program, so I want to start with there. People are constantly trying to go through their garage and through discs that they never are going to throw again, and they're like, where do I do with these? And I'm like, send them to UPlay. We usually have a volunteer or myself or Dustin like scratching out the names and numbers or taking acetone to them so your information's protected. And then we choose schools. We try to ship off a box of 100 at a time to schools that don't have the resources to buy discs. And for the schools that do, you know, we get through that information pretty quickly with whoever's on the other end that I'm either interviewing or Dustin is. And if they have the resources, UPlay's one of our core values is to work with all companies involved with our mission, or all companies that believe in and want to support the mission. And that is offering a chance for everyone to play. So we usually have a wholesale or better price that we can hook the schools up with, you know, instead of them going on Amazon and getting some stuff that might not even make sense for the age level that they have. We actually have a nice long list of all these manufacturers, and we know who has product and who doesn't, and we know the prices that we can give them, so we can even give them price comparisons. Same for baskets.
Wow.
So that's pretty fun, because if at some point, like say Discraft was out of discs, or if Discmania was, then we're going here or we're going there, or Infinite is working with a manufacturer no one's probably heard of, Mainstream, to put together these sweet packs for schools. So that's ways that we can help from afar. As soon as this teaching guide gets out, that's one of your biggest helps. And inside of that book gives you all the listed options of how you can obtain equipment. But that book right there is gold. If you only had like the Frisbees that a lot of schools have, you know, the large, very cheap, very lightweight gram Frisbees that they've all been teaching disc golf with up to this point, they can still use the teaching guide to teach with it. And I would hope that they would want to obtain discs after that.
So is that part of the, I know for 2022, you guys are implementing, you know, that the kids go home with their own disc. Is that part of what you're saying, is when the people donate their old discs, that's what the kids are going home with?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. So this is a big announcement, first time to the public. And I'm sure UDisc is listening out there right now, but huge shout out to UDisc, the online scorecard and the place for all of the information you need to find about disc golf. UDisc and UPlay have a partnership where they have in-kind donated, so not financially, but through plastic. They're donating a very large number of discs for us to be able, we're doing putters because it makes sense when you take care of, or when you've seen our curriculum and like the progression of our teaching methods. We want the kids to go home with a disc. We've taken care of the schools at this point. We're leaving them baskets and then starter sets for their PE program. But thanks to UDisc, we're going to be able to divvy out at least 10,000 discs this year.
Wow.
And I mean, we're
just to the schools that you go to on the Pro Tour? Or, okay.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Cool. But we have more options than just that. Infinite Discs, who I personally, like the non-director hat, the just pro Zoe hat, I personally have been sponsored by Infinite and have been able to get them very hyped and excited about UPlay. And so when we go to other places like Juneau, Alaska, we have a 5-year partnership to help develop every community in Southeast as far as having it in their PE programs, having a course for their communities, and then having equipment for them to play with. Infinite's got our back right there, you know, or pretty much anywhere that we've chosen to focus on. It's all about how many do I need and how far can we expand the dollars that we've fundraised, and how much can any of the manufacturers in kind donate. Because that's what it takes, you guys. Nobody's able to just give discs for free out for infinity. That's kind of a funny word to use right now, but
totally.
It takes the help of manufacturers, and it takes in-kind donations, or I've had private donors designate, let's say, $1,000 where they've put a stamp on it. I want this to go towards discs for kids. So there's a lot of different ways UPlay is making it happen, but specifically on the Community Connect this year, one of the coolest things is not only are we teaching the teachers, teaching the students, leaving the equipment for schools, but this year the kids get to go home with a disc if they so choose.
That is such a gift too, Zoe, because I've actually been saying this to a couple of my teacher friends and just a couple of friends in general, but like that is the one limitation in disc golf right now, is just having the equipment, right? And
yes,
I feel like once you have it, like anybody could run off with it and go out to a field or go make their own little course in their backyard and putt there. Like the options are endless once you have the equipment.
That's so true. You're right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've seen the kids in previous years be so excited, but then you wonder, okay, that girl had talent, but is she playing? Oh, remember that girl at that one Community Connect? You think she's throwing? And now we know we can send her home with a disc, and there's not a chance with how much fun she had, how much success she saw, that she's not taking her family out and being like, hey, watch this, you know?
We got to do
this. And
this
spreading that joy. Totally.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to hear. I'm excited to be a part of it. So let's plug all your stuff now, Zoe. So we know what we want to communicate to the audience listening is you guys, first and foremost, like Zoe said, first thing right off the bat, she's a 501c3, which means she's a nonprofit. So how can they donate, and when they donate, where does it go to?
Awesome. So just right on the website, I mean, there's a couple of bright pink donate buttons, you know, kind of sprinkled all throughout there. And that's if you are so inclined to give financial support.
And that's, again, U, not Y-O-U, just the letter U, play.org.
UPlayDiscGolf.org.
UPlayDiscGolf.org.
But if you just Google UPlay, it should come up. So UPlayDiscGolf.org. Tons and tons of ways on there. Even if you have extra discs you want to donate for those under-resourced schools, the address is right on there, and we can provide you, whether it's a financial or an in-kind donation, we can provide you your tax-deductible receipt. If it's in-kind, you get to assign the value. That's just kind of how accounting works.
Awesome.
But awesome. Your financial donations go towards what our board of directors, I work directly with my 7 directors each year to formulate an annual budget, and the budget is approved on what I believe where UPlay should be teaching and what events we should be focusing on to make the largest impact. And I'm not always right. That's why I need 7 directors to put their 2 cents in. And I very, very much believe in every one of my directors. They all come from, you know, amazing backgrounds. Some of them are retired now and have a lot of time. Some of them are still working individuals, but they're all very well versed in a different understanding of professional and the entire sport of disc golf. So it's not just me making all these decisions, but every single one of your dollars goes towards funding these educational presentations or being able to get the equipment to do it.
Awesome. And then for another thing that you guys offer is the curriculum and getting in your schools. So if you are listening and or watching, make sure you guys go to uplaydiscgolf.org and fill out the form to get UPlay to come to your school. I know that we're looking for lots of schools, like you said, on the Pro Tour. I'm a UPlay ambassador. And, you know, we got lots of good pros that you guys are going to love. If you're watching this and you are a parent of a kid, insert their school. We could come to their school and teach them maybe during a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Or if you don't line up with one of the events, like Zoe said, still sign up for that. And we might get in there in the future. And if it's not us pros, somebody will still get in there. And then you'll become a school that UPlay is affiliated with, and who knows, down the line the pros could come there anyway. So if you love disc golf, obviously you do because you're here listening to this podcast, make sure and you have kids in your life, make sure you get their school involved. Hit up youplaydiscgolf.org. And Zoe, is there anything else you want to cover? Maybe some inspiring story or something like that you haven't spoke of yet, or anything that maybe we haven't even hinted at?
Well, just to wrap up on how you guys can understand more about UPlay, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, the handle is at UPlayDiscGolf. It's just like our website, youplaydiscgolf.org. And we are continuously expanding our core team, our leadership team, and we're always looking for volunteers that have unique skills. So there's also a volunteer form on there, and
awesome.
I want to make sure. I actually have like 4 different meetings next week with some volunteers that have filled out forms. Some of them are just really interested and have some of their own stories to tell, and some of them really are interested in helping from afar. And if you've got the heart and you've got the will to see these programs through and see them work, we have jobs for you. I just have to always get as creative as possible with my team to figure out where we can put your efforts. So please fill out the forms. And then I was actually thinking about a couple of stories just as we've been talking. So one thing that happened, it's when you hear the kids talking and they don't even know you're listening. Some of the most inspiring and kind of almost tearjerker moments for me. And so I want to take one of them to the Match Play Championships. We went to Quakertown High School. If you look back on, I believe the Pro Tour even shared it on their Instagram, but if you look back on ours, there's this young girl, she's a sophomore. She throws in an ace, and that's, I put quotations around it because we teach putting, then we teach backhand, then we teach sidearm. And usually it's about 100 to 150 feet. Sometimes at the high school level, we get back to like 250. So Ella throws in a backhand ace. First of all, I'm thinking of one of my good friends who just started touring this year, Ella Hansen. And I go, Ella, well, that's the name of a champion. Come on up here. And, and she wins a starter pack. We had a few extra starter packs to give away for kids that did get an ace. And so it was a really incredible moment, but that's not what I wanted to share. It was as we did our wrap-up of class, we love disc golf, woo! Everybody's walking away. The girl's best friend walks up to me, and she goes, I just told Ella I was going to take her disc golfing this weekend for her birthday. Yes! Like, okay, so you guys didn't know what it was yesterday. Now you're these high school girls that just got inspired, and you just got an idea of what you want to do with your buddy for her birthday. You chose disc golf. Win. And the women's side is growing.
That is awesome.
That's unreal.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and then I think the other big story I want to share is just when a student came to me, and this was pre-Disc Golf Pro Tour days. This was back in the day, 2015, I believe. I know this kid and goes to a Corvallis school. I think he's in 6th grade, and he had a hard time, I think, having a way to share or communicate with mom and dad at home about anything, really. Hey, what'd you do in school today? Nothing. Cool. Yeah, good. You get these one-word answers from kids. Well, I assign fun work when kids go home instead of homework. The fun work is that go home and tell someone that you love or someone that you like to spend time with what you learned today. Because if you can describe it, you then get to teach them what disc golf is. Well, I used to actually be in schools for 4 days at a time instead of just one full day, and had to pare down, obviously, but that's a whole nother story about writing all my experience reports. He comes back the next day, and he was so elated to tell me he could tell his dad what track stance and straddle stance putting was, and him and his dad just threw, and it was a beach frisbee, just threw a frisbee at a tree in their backyard.
Amazing.
A kid goes home and him and his dad are bonding.
Teach you something, Dad.
Yeah.
That's cool because I don't know, just as a society, like we have a thing that the parents teach the kids.
Right.
And so I'm not a parent yet, but I have to imagine what a beautiful moment that is to learn something from your kid. Your kid comes home and says, I'm going to teach you something. Like, how freaking heartwarming is that right
Yeah.
now? That is amazing. I love that
That's
story.
incredible.
So thanks for asking, you guys. Gives an example of a young high school girl and then, an elementary school boy and what it does from connecting with family to connecting with friends in a healthy way. And that's
Very
what we're
cool.
all about.
I love
And
that.
if you guys want to watch some inspiring videos, are there on YouPlace?
Come to our YouTube.
Yeah.
They're finally uploaded.
There's some really cool videos, like slow-mo compilations, really cool work, and you just get to see the smiles of kids throwing discs, getting that joy of seeing the first flight, and it's really, really cool. Go watch it. They're 3 to 5 minute videos, easy to digest, and they're going to leave you smiling, I promise you.
It's true. It's true.
That's so
And
special.
for any of the educators out there too, we'll be uploading throughout the next month a lot of our teacher testimonials. And so if this podcast wasn't inspiring enough, make sure you do your homework and get some of the outside testimonials from the educators as well.
Awesome, Zoe.
Definitely. Love that. All right, Zoe, I have one last question for you. You were talking a little bit about like how you were saying you were like a really good freestyler. I want to know more about that. What's going on with that? Can you freestyle for us?
Well, I'll
You
tell
gotta
you
hit her
what's
with the
going
topic.
on.
With a topic?
To be honest with you, I love all kinds of music, but I would say hip hop and some inspiring rap music has always been my number one favorite. And then coupled with that
I
is
love that.
I only really truly do it when I'm surrounded by love and I have a message of love, and sometimes music like takes over the whole room or the whole environment, and not trying to be like greedy, but if I need to get the message of love out quickly, I just gotta flow. I call
Let's
Paige.
hear
Come on,
it. Let's
Zoe.
see it. I want to be.
Hit
Come
him
on,
with it.
Zoe. Let's see it.
Just pretend you just called me on the
No.
phone. You had one of your best business meetings, and here you are. We're talking disc golf. We're talking kids. We're talking teaching.
Oh no, that's real. That's
Let's
like
do it.
the definition of my heart right now.
It's your whole life.
And I don't do this publicly. I reserve this space usually just for my closest friends and my closest to my heart. But you're right next to me, and you're one of them.
And we
Now
can
the
cut it
approachable
out.
community
So-
Hate it.
There you go.
I was on Joe Mez Pro. They asked me, hey girl, would you make us a flow? I said, yo, I'm with my girl Cloud. You didn't know that was a nickname that we gave each other, but back in the day, it was a way that I could say anything to my girl when I want to be so playful with you, with me and the friends. Be smiling, show your teeth. I got to make a grin, cause I'm so happy when we win, when you win and I win. We win together, it's no sin. It's the exact opposite. What I'm doing is being legit, giving my heart this rhyme to you. Love for the Joe Mez Pro crew. Had to end it. Oh my gosh. I hope that was okay.
That was
I didn't have any background beat.
You can. I mean, you created your own. That was incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
My heart's
Okay,
beating
I'm
pretty
so
fast.
glad I asked
I've never
that.
done that publicly.
Wow.
so good. So good, Zoe. What a way to end the show.
Insane.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
I gotta give you, Joe, and you, Paige, and the Joe Mez crew big love for having me on tonight.
Yeah, we
Aw,
enjoyed
thank
it
you so much
thoroughly.
for being
I
here.
think this is the biggest way. We talk about it every week. Growing the sport, growing the sport, growing the sport. I'm so happy to end this season. We do have one episode left, but you're our last guest of this season.
this is
and I'm
true.
so happy to go out with the last guest. In my personal opinion, the biggest and best way to grow the sport is teaching our youth, and that is exactly what YouPlay is doing. So go support them. Go support Zoe and all of her hard work. She has a
Tell your
crazy
teacher
busy
friends, too.
schedule. Exactly. Lots of people that are watching are teachers. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thank you for
got it.
joining us,
Yeah.
Zoe. And we will see you guys
Thank you.
next week for the final episode.
Yes. Thank you so much, Zoe. Have a good one, everyone, and take care.